Day 17 in the Anauroch Desert, and I've just made the most absolutely fascinating discovery. Though it appears the discovery has rather strong opinions about my observation techniques. That, dear viewers, is the distinctive roar of a creature that locals call Al-Tanin Zahari, the Brass Death, a Dragonne. According to my esteemed colleagues at the Academy, these magnificent beasts vanished from this region centuries ago. As I always say to my students, just because something isn't in the textbooks doesn't mean it isn't out there being absolutely marvelous somewhere. Welcome to Field Notes, documenting the extraordinary. I'm Professor Thaddeous Danger Fieldstone, and if I can avoid becoming what I'd classify as Dragonne digestive material, we're about to witness something completely unprecedented in the field of magical zoology. The Dragonne, taxonomically Draconis fallidae aureus, is essentially what you'd get if nature held a design competition and lions and dragons both won first prize. You love to see it. Note the distinctive brass-colored scales that regulate body temperature in this scorching environment. A feature I'm rather envious of at the moment. Oh, to have evolved in a desert rather than a cloudy mountain peak of my ancestors? Perhaps next time choose an expedition somewhere less hostile to the biological limitations. Nonsense, Wonder. The science demands we go where the discoveries are, not where the weather is pleasant. But what we have here is something truly magnificent. This particular Dragonne, whom I've affectionately dubbed Mr. Toastywhiskers, is exhibiting behavior that contradicts everything in Professor Emberstone's definitive guide to draconic predators. Instead of roaming a vast territory, he's stayed within a half-mile of that. An oasis that, according to every geological survey of Anauroch, simply should not exist. Let us observe, but not disturb. At least not yet. This could prove a revolutionary discovery, or at least justify my extravagant grant proposals. A slight miscalculation in my approach strategy. Mr. Toastywhiskers' territorial awareness is considerably more acute than the literature suggests. Fascinating adaptive trait. Now, this is extraordinary. Watch Mr. Toastywhiskers' behavior as these jackals approach. According to conventional Dragonne behavioral studies, we should be witnessing what Professor Emberstone calls indiscriminate territorial elimination. Ghastly phrase, ghastly practice. Poor Emberstone never did appreciate the nuances of magical creature sociology. But look at this. Mr. Toastywhiskers isn't attacking, he's herding them, allowing access to the water while protecting the central area. It's almost as if, great mistress mysteries, I think I know what this is. The legendary Emerald Oasis of Archmagus Thalindel. I thought it was merely academic folklore. My colleagues laughed when I included it in my expedition proposal. Who's laughing now, Professor Emberstone? Who's laughing now? A professional composer. Very important in the field. And to those listening to these field notes, what legendary creature would you love to prove exists? Drop your answers in the comments below. Given this astonishing cognitive behavior, it's entirely plausible, probable even, that Mr. Toastywhiskers has been magically uplifted by ancient Netherese biomancers. The implications for our understanding of draconic intelligence are extraordinary. Night in the desert brings dramatic temperature drops and increased predator activity. These enhanced arcane vision goggles are a prototype from the Academy's experimental equipment division. The focusing mechanism is still a bit temperamental. Simply extraordinary patrol behavior. Mr. Toastywhiskers follows the exact same route at precisely 7-minute intervals. That's not instinctual, that's calculated. Something's disturbed our magnificent guardian. Treasure hunters. The most destructive invasive species in any magical ecosystem. Magnificent sonic deterrent. But wait, is that a dragon slayer bolt? I can't allow. Hey, you there! This area is under protection of Royal Academic Conservation Charter. Section 7, subsection 12, very serious penalties. That went rather well. Luckily, desert treasure hunters dread bureaucratic paperwork almost as much as dragon slayer crossbows. Highly effective strategy. Though possibly I should have considered the next part of this plan more thoroughly. Yes. Hello there, magnificent specimen. Purely academic interest, completely non-threatening. Please don't eat me. I told you we should have brought small protective wards. What a night. After a thoroughly invigorating 10-hour game of Don't Get Eaten by Mr. Toastywhiskers, I've made a revolutionary breakthrough in interspecies communication. Somewhere around hour 7 of our chase, I noticed something extraordinary. Mr. Toastywhiskers wasn't actually trying to catch me, he was herding me, just like those jackals, away from the central part of the oasis. Working hypothesis is that Mr. Toastywhiskers possesses sophisticated intelligence. I've prepared these boundary proposals indicating areas I'd like to respectfully observe versus areas I promise to avoid completely. Steady. Academic intentions only. Purely observational research. Absolutely unprecedented communication. He's establishing clear boundaries. This goes beyond anything documented in interspecies intelligence studies. He's smarter than most of your students. After our successful diplomatic negotiations, or as I like to call it, how I convinced Mr. Toastywhiskers not to eat me, I've been granted limited access to observe the outer oasis area. And what I've discovered is revolutionary. These are Emerald Daisies, magical flora thought extinct since the fall of Netherese. But they're not just incredibly rare plants, they're indicators. The ancient Netherese created these flowers as a living monitoring system for their magical containment seals. Ingenious. The Netherese employed living flora precisely because their magic is sustainable, visible, and extremely sensitive to arcane fluctuations. Nature and magic entwined perfectly. They're essentially magical detection systems in botanical form. Absolutely brilliant biomechanical engineering. The patterns match Archmagus Thalindel's journal exactly. This oasis isn't just a random magical anomaly, it's a deliberately engineered containment system. The flowers serve as living indicators of the seal's integrity, their color shifts corresponding to the magical resonance beneath. And Mr. Toastywhiskers, he's not just any Dragonne, he's been enhanced through ancient Netherese biomagic to maintain this site indefinitely. A living guardian programmed with complex protective behaviors. Oh, Professor Emberstone's going to need an extra strength hair tonic after he hears this. This single discovery reimagines everything we thought we knew about Netherese preservation magic and suggests something even more extraordinary. If this is indeed Archmagus Thalindel's work, there could be a dozen of similar containment sites across Faerun, each with their own guardians, all operating outside academic knowledge. I do believe Mr. Toastywhiskers is confirming my hypothesis, though it could also be indigestion. Difficult to be certain from this distance. The final piece of this extraordinary puzzle came from the local Bedouin tribes, who have avoided this oasis for generations. Their oral histories speak of the sleeping evil beneath the sands, and the brass sentinel left by the Sky Tower wizards.
Our ancients warned us of disturbing the brass sentinel's vigil. Perhaps this was always meant to be a partnership.
Together we've established the Pact of the Emerald Bloom, creating protected boundaries while allowing sustainable access to the outer water sources. A perfect symbiosis of human need and magical preservation. A Dragonne and a daisy, extraordinary companions in a magical ecosystem spanning centuries. Until next time, this is Professor Thaddeous Danger Fieldstone, reminding you that in the study of magical creatures, observation and respect yield far greater discoveries than combat and conquest. Well, hello, what's this? A Dragonne scale? Perfect specimen for the Academy collection, though perhaps just a small piece. Or perhaps just a detailed sketch instead. Yes, excellent. Far more respectful and safer for my continued scholarly endeavors. Wisdom at last. Field notes entry complete. Though I suspect this is just the beginning of the Emerald Bloom story.